The story begins inside a scientific laboratory where researchers are experimenting on mice. One scientist is working on a very important experiment. He injects a special serum into a mouse and places it inside a sealed container. After some time, he checks on the mouse again, and the moment he sees the result, his eyes fill with excitement and disbelief. The experiment worked. Without wasting any time, he runs to his senior scientist, Dr. Andrus, and tells him the incredible news. The project they have been working on for many years has finally achieved a major breakthrough. After this huge success, a big press conference is organized. Dr. Andrus stands in front of everyone and begins explaining their work. He talks about the problems the world is facing, wars happening everywhere, climate change, and increasing pollution that is making life difficult for people across the planet. Then he removes a small box placed on the table. Under the box stands a tiny man. Everyone in the room suddenly goes silent. Dr. Andrus introduces him as Dr. Jorgen, the main scientist behind the project. Dr. Jorgen explains that 32 people from their team, including his own wife, volunteered for this process. They all willingly went through it, and now, every one of them is only 5 inches tall. He assures everyone that the process is completely safe and causes no pain at all. To prove it, another assistant brings in a trolley carrying the rest of the team. The audience watches in shock as many tiny people stand there waving their hands. Dr. Jorgen announces that this marks the beginning of a new era, the result of 5 years of secret research and hard work. To show how beneficial this experiment could be for the world, an assistant picks up a tiny plastic bag and explains something surprising. Inside this small bag is all the waste produced by those 32 people during the last 5 years. Their idea is simple. If humans become smaller, they will need less space, less food, and fewer resources. Dr. Jorgen then makes an open announcement to the world. Anyone who wants can go through the downsizing process. This news spreads across the world like wildfire. People everywhere start talking about downsizing and the possibility of becoming small. And this is where the story shifts to our main character, Paul. Paul is currently living a very normal life. He spends most of his time taking care of his sick mother at home. Unfortunately, despite his efforts, her health keeps getting worse, and after some time she passes away. Paul works at a factory, but at the same time he also enjoys helping sick people whenever he can. Helping others truly makes him happy. Paul is married to a woman named Audrey. They don't have children, but they love each other deeply. After their marriage, they buy a new house, and because of that, all their savings are gone. That's when Paul realizes how difficult and expensive it is to achieve dreams in the real world. One evening, Paul and Audrey attend a party with their friends. The main attraction of the party is 2 tiny people named Dave and Carol. They are there to explain the benefits of downsizing. Dave tells the crowd that there is absolutely no downside to becoming small. People can still do everything they enjoy, but in a world where their money will go much further. He explains that their community is called Leisureland, a place where everything is extremely cheap. He talks about his massive mansion, something he could never afford in normal life. This presentation leaves a strong impression on Paul and Audrey. When they return home that night, new dreams begin forming in their minds. A few days later, they are invited to visit Leisureland. The next morning, they go there and see a place that looks incredibly clean, beautiful, and perfectly designed for small people. A cheerful tiny man welcomes them and gives them a tour of the place. He shows them his luxurious house, which he bought for a surprisingly small amount of money. He also introduces them to his wife, who is also small, and they proudly show the happy life they are living without financial stress. The guide continues explaining how downsizing completely changed his life and assures them that anyone can go through the process without problems. After that, Paul and Audrey meet a doctor. The doctor clearly explains the financial reality. Once they shrink, their current large house will become useless. However, if they sell it, they will become extremely wealthy in Leisureland. Everything there is so cheap that they can spend as much as they want, and their money will still last for a very long time. Finally, Paul and Audrey decide to go through with the downsizing process. Paul goes to work and tells his coworkers that it is his last day. He explains that he is going to become small and start a new life in Leisureland. His coworkers are happy for him and say goodbye. Paul and Audrey meet their friends one last time because they know that after shrinking, they may never meet them again. They sell their house, remove their wedding rings for the procedure, and prepare to leave their old lives behind. The next morning, along with many other hopeful people, they board a special bus heading to Leisureland. The bus takes them to a huge facility where the human transformation process takes place. There, they are given one final chance to change their decision. An officer asks if they have any doubts or if anyone is forcing them. Paul and Audrey confidently say that they are doing this by choice. They are then informed that men and women must go through the procedure in separate areas. Before separating, they hug each other one last time and promise to meet on the other side. Paul is taken to a room where many men are preparing for the procedure. Their bodies are completely shaved. Any damaged or decayed teeth are removed. All of this happens while they are unconscious, so they do not feel anything. After that, Paul is placed inside an advanced machine. The process takes about 20 minutes. When it finishes, Paul has successfully been reduced to just 5 inches tall. The newly downsized people are moved to a recovery area where everything is built according to their new size. Small doctors are there to help them, and artificial teeth are placed where necessary. After some time, Paul wakes up on a small bed. A nurse, who is also tiny, helps him and tells him the procedure was completely successful. She gives him small clothes and even brings him a large biscuit that looks huge from his new perspective. But Paul isn't thinking about any of that. He is only looking for Audrey. At that moment, his phone rings. It's Audrey. Her voice sounds scared and full of regret. What she tells him completely breaks him. During the final stage of the procedure, she became extremely frightened. When she saw her hair being shaved off, she couldn't handle it anymore. She decided to back out of the process and left the facility. But Paul had already completed the procedure. Now he is permanently 5 inches tall, alone in this small world without his wife. Paul begs her to come back and says everything will be okay. He tells her that hair will grow again and things will be fine. But Audrey has already made her final decision. She says she is too scared and will not return. After saying goodbye one last time, she hangs up the phone. Paul is left completely alone, forever small. His dream life is shattered before it even truly begins. Paul becomes deeply depressed. Even though he lives in a large, luxurious house, he feels completely empty inside. Soon after, their wedding rings are sent to him. Seeing them, now incredibly large compared to his size, makes his pain even deeper. An entire year passes. Paul continues living alone. He has a life full of luxury, but no one to share it with. Sometimes he meets his friend Dave, who tries to cheer him up and tells him there are plenty of women here and he should move on. One evening, Paul is at home on a date, but everything feels forced and empty. Suddenly, his upstairs neighbor Dusan, who loves parties and loud music, barges in and invites Paul to a huge party he's hosting. Since Paul has nothing better to do, he agrees. The next night, Paul attends Dusan's party and brings a large rose as a gift. Dusan is happy to see him and encourages him to drink, relax, and meet new women. But Paul cannot connect with anyone. He spends the night drinking and dancing until he eventually collapses unconscious. By morning, the party is over. Only Paul and Dusan remain in the messy apartment. Soon, a cleaning crew arrives. Dusan is extremely rich and hires others to handle everything. As Paul wakes up with a heavy hangover, he notices one of the cleaners. He recognizes her immediately. It's Ngoc Lan Tran, a famous Vietnamese activist he saw in the news a year ago. In that report, it was revealed that a downsized community in Vietnam had been destroyed, and she was the only survivor. During that tragedy, she lost one of her legs and now uses a prosthetic. Paul approaches her and is surprised to see someone so well-known doing this kind of work. Ngoc explains simply, she needs to survive. This job helps her earn a little money to live. Paul notices that she is collecting some medicine from Dusan's apartment. When he questions her, she explains it's for a sick friend. Doosan allows cleaners to take things they need. Since Paul used to help sick people in his past life, he pays attention to her prosthetic leg and realizes it's fitted incorrectly and probably causing her pain. Paul offers to fix it. Ngok is happy to hear that and asks if he can also help check on her sick friend. Paul agrees. He leaves his luxury life behind for a while and takes a bus with Ngok to another part of Leisureland he never knew existed.
If only my work job make money easy.
They pass through a massive wall. On the other side, Paul discovers a poor settlement where small people live inside old shipping containers instead of beautiful houses. Ngok takes him to her small home where a very sick woman is lying on a bed. Ngok asks Paul to help treat her. Paul explains that he is not a real doctor, but Ngok insists that he still knows more than she does. Paul carefully gives some medicine taken from Doosan's apartment. Later, Paul promises he will also fix Ngok's prosthetic leg. However, when he returns a few days later, Ngok has bad news. The sick woman has died. Ngok worries that maybe she gave her too much medicine, but she also says the woman died peacefully with a smile, as if her suffering had finally ended. Paul then starts fixing Ngok's prosthetic leg, but while tightening the screws, it accidentally breaks. Ngok becomes angry, but Paul refuses to give up. He carries her on his shoulders and promises to help until her leg is fixed. Paul begins working as a cleaner in the homes of rich residents in Leisureland. This job is much lower than his previous life, but Paul doesn't mind. Helping others gives meaning to his life again. During this time, he learns more about Ngok and sees how she helps elderly and sick people despite having very little herself. Her kindness deeply touches Paul. One day, while they are cleaning Doosan's apartment, Doosan notices Paul and jokes about how he used to live in luxury but is now working as a cleaner. Paul simply replies that it's a long story. Doosan notices that Paul actually seems happier now. At that moment, Doosan is discussing a secret mission to Norway that involves a lot of money. He invites Paul to join. When Ngok hears this, she immediately says she will go too if Paul goes. Even though it may be dangerous, she has always dreamed of going to Norway. Eventually, Paul, Ngok, Doosan, and his partner board a special boat and begin a long journey across the ocean. During the trip, Paul meets the true inventor of the Downsizing project, Dr. Jorgen, and his wife Anne. Dr. Jorgen reveals a terrifying truth. Melting glaciers are releasing huge amounts of methane gas into the atmosphere. If this continues, the world could end. He originally created Downsizing to save humanity, but not enough people accepted the process. At this point, it may already be too late. That's why this journey is happening. It may be humanity's last chance. This information shocks Paul. Later that night, as emotions run high, Paul and Ngok grow closer. They share a kiss and spend the night together. After a long journey, the group finally arrives in Norway. There, they find a peaceful community of downsized people living in harmony with nature, very different from Leisureland. Paul is taken to see something incredible, a massive tunnel built inside a mountain. He learns that nearly 2 kilometers underground, a huge bunker has been built where selected people can survive for thousands of years until Earth becomes livable again. Food, water, and supplies have been stored there. Humanity will not disappear. Hearing this, Paul feels inspired. He decides he wants to join the bunker and help preserve the human race. When he tells Ngok about his decision, she is heartbroken. She asks how he can leave her after everything that has happened between them. Paul struggles to answer, but he believes this is the right thing to do. When the time comes, everyone watches the sunset together, knowing it may be the last time they ever see the sun. Paul says goodbye and walks into the dark tunnel. But as he walks deeper inside, he begins thinking about Ngok, Doosan, and the people he has met. He realizes something important. Simply surviving is not the same as truly living. If the people he cares about are not there, what is the point? Outside, Ngok and Dusan stand near the entrance, hoping he might return. And then someone emerges from the darkness. It's Paul. He changed his mind. Dusan laughs and says he knew Paul wouldn't leave. Paul walks straight to Ngok, looks into her eyes, and finally tells her the truth. He loves her. Instead of living a luxurious life or hiding underground, they choose to spend their lives helping others. And that becomes their true purpose. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.